Hello, good morning to you. It is Friday and we have a mess out there this morning. There's a winter storm south of the UP that's been bringing in rounds of wintry mixture since early this morning, or probably close to about 2 a.m. or thereabouts. It's been moving in from the south and it's been spreading across the central and eastern UP. So we do have a very hazardous conditions out there on roadways. It is a mess across several counties this morning. It's not good. So be mindful of that if you're heading out and about this morning. Roads are, well, they're just not good. They're just not good at all. Very slippery conditions. Some places are more icy than others. Very slick back roads, not doing so hot either as well. So please be careful out there. Just kind of common sense to make sure you're keeping a safe following distance from other vehicles. We have had reports of vehicles, ending up in the ditch, some accidents as well. And so, yeah, please be careful. No speeding. We should be minding our, following distance and our speed limits as this wintry mix continues to be coming through some of our central counties here this morning. So, in the comments below, just let us know, what the road conditions were like for you if you ended up going out early this morning or what you're seeing out there this morning. I'm going to talk about what we're seeing for road conditions and how the rest of your day is going to shape up. We'll talk about amounts, give you a look outside at some of the radars, or rather some of the sky cameras that we have access to, and time out some more of those impacts here for you for this morning and this afternoon. So again, just be careful. You know, um, it's not good out there. Very, very icy. We had a combination of some rain, freezing rain, and pockets of sleet out there as well, and snow now. So we're going to continue to see this transition to snow here. That'll be more widespread for at least basically the second half of today and going into this evening. Okay, so not super good out there. Okay, let's show you what we got. Okay, so again, on and off rounds of this wintry mixture. That includes rain, freezing rain, sleet here throughout the morning. The second half of your day will basically just feature more of that wet snowfall. That'll become rather sloppy. Okay, so very slippery this morning. Icy patches out there. Roads could be they could just be deceivingly not good, okay? So it might look okay, but it's not good. Then it becomes sloppy once we tap into that heavy, wet, accumulating snow that starts to accumulate here. Now, the thing is, it's not a situation where this is going to dump all of the snow in a couple of hours. This is kind of snowfall that will gradually amount here over the span of about a day. So that continues for tonight, going into tomorrow morning as well. Those are the highlights here. I put together this graphic to maybe kind of help, visually depict, how, when things will be okay, when things will be not good, when things will be a little bit worse. So as per usual, if you see green, that's good. You see yellow, orange, okay, not doing so hot, and then red, not good for travel conditions, okay? So this goes from this morning going into the afternoon, progressively getting worse here throughout the morning and then into the afternoon. Looks like some of the precipitation will be winding down this evening, and so there will be some improvements to portions of the UP, just not the entire UP. Here's a different visual depiction to break it down per zones for you, so you can have a better understanding of when it won't be so great. So the Western UP is doing all right now, but by midday we'll start to notice deteriorating conditions over there. Not good at all for the Central UP this morning, extending into the afternoon, and then it starts to progressively become a little bit worse in the east this afternoon. Here's that radar loop imagery. Here's the system. Let me get that loaded for you. There it is. There's that low. The one thing about this system is that we don't really have the strong winds. So that really helps us out. Really helps us out to not have strong winds. So it's kind of just the consistency of the precipitation that we're getting with this system, and if roads are being treated properly and in a timely fashion, that we kind of just have to contend with today.
Because if we had some stronger winds with this system and we had colder air coming in immediately behind this system with this wintry precipitation, then we'd be talking about a flash freeze. And that's not necessarily the case with this, which is, you know, one thing we're grateful for, that that's not the case here. So wind component is mainly a threat and a factor for southern Wisconsin and areas downstate. That's going to continue east here. We've been hovering around the freezing mark, right around the low 30s. Here's the radar. Most of the morning, we did have a swath of kind of freezing rain. I'm going to back it up here. This was about 5 o'clock in the morning, and then this is about 6, 7. There's a kind of a swath of freezing rain across Menominee, Delta, southern Marquette, Alger counties in those areas. And some rain kind of that continued along Lake Michigan throughout the early morning hours before sunrise. Now radar's showing that it's kind of been transitioning to more of that wet snow, big snowflakes, as well as about an hour ago, we definitely heard some sleet mixing in with this snow and mixture. So that snow's been falling on top of some rain, wet surfaces, and some freezing rain. So no wonder why a lot of areas are very slippery, slick, and icy in some places. Please be careful out there. We continue to push that messaging. We've also had this kind of coupled with some areas of fog, which has caused kind of on and off reduced visibility in some areas. But it hasn't been anything major, again, because we don't have that wind component, which is good for us to not have that wind. It's enough with what we're dealing with out there, right? So visibility, because of some of that fog, could be down to about 3/4 of a mile in Marquette County, about 1.5 miles in some places along the Wisconsin state line. At this moment, the more dense fog, rather, is kind of within portions of Dickinson and Iron counties at about 1/4 of a mile. I mentioned wind is not really a component with the system for us, which we're happy about. And here are your current wind gusts. So occasional 20, mid 20 range for those miles per hour for gusts. Not terrible for winds. So here's a look at Rapid River US 2 here. You can see the sheen on that road stretch from the freezing rain that kind of came through earlier in the morning hours. So playing on those very wet conditions, again, could be deceiving in some of those areas, all right? Iron County looking relatively quiet. There's areas of fog and, of course, some light snow cover there. Imperial Heights Road in Baraga County. Not much for accumulations of snow there just yet, but definitely slippery. Here's outside of the station where we have now kind of officially transitioned to more of that snow. And, you know, road crews have been out there. They've been treating roads and kind of clearing things out. But again, it's just a tricky situation, okay? We can't underestimate the conditions out there. But we're not driving through deep snow drifts. It's just very slippery, slick, okay? And that's going to continue to become messy once we pick up with the snowfall here. M94, the Marquette-Dickinson County line, kind of foggy there. This is New York Wind at M35 at M553. More of that kind of what looks to be slush and slick, slippery surfaces there. Not much for snow over on the west end just yet in Ontonagon County, but definitely slick. This depicting and clearly seeing the sheen on that road right there over at the Mackinac Bridge for the fact that they've been having on and off rain continuing during the overnight hours in this morning. So wet conditions on the east end of the UP. Let's time things out here for you. All right, let me adjust this here just a second. There we go. So I showed you that we've seen a lot of that to mix kind of start to push east, and that's the name of the game here for the next couple of hours as that wintry mixture continues its track eastward, where temperatures are going to continue to hover around freezing, if not freezing, to about 34, maybe 35 degrees here throughout the morning. Then around midday through the afternoon, finally kind of get, you know, some of that cooler air to overcome that, you know, mixture, and it turns into more of just widespread wet snow, and roads will become quickly sloppy because of it. And this will accumulate. By the evening, our in-house model is showing actually that The snow clears in the eastern UP, but continues in the west and central counties, where we'll see temperatures fall below the freezing mark, fall below 30 degrees. And then tomorrow morning, we will still have some lingering lake effect snow in the west end as that system continues to slowly move on out. There's going to be still some residual energy with this, which is what will help support the lingering snowfall tomorrow morning. By tomorrow evening, we're basically done. We're back to kind of a typical pattern for us this weekend. So typical winter weather where we kind of have on and off lake effect snow, colder conditions, getting us back to normal temperatures of 20s. By Sunday, it's lower 20s. Tomorrow, it's mid and upper 20s. Our normal is supposed to be kind of hovering right around 24, 25 now for this time of year, going into the end of February. So yes, and yeah, so you can say goodbye to the 30s. We've had very mild weather for the majority of this week, and the trends looking more typical this weekend, extending into next week as well. And looking out to next week, the pattern is also looking active, with every other day having something coming through and more chances for snow. So it looks like we're going to get back to that pattern that we had last month in January, where we had something almost every day, if not every other day, coming through with some snow. Okay, snowfall. Put this out through tomorrow morning. We're still on par. We're still looking at that range of 3 to 6 widespread. You know, the lowest in the eastern UP, because that's where we are going to continue kind of hovering around the freezing mark, if not higher than that, for the majority of the day. And the central UP ranging around 6 inches to about 8 inches, depending on where you're at in the central UP, that is. Some of the high elevations, places like Baraga, Western Marquette County, those interior western locations of Iron, Ontonagon, Southern Houghton, we're looking at about a foot of snow. This just through tomorrow morning. This is just through 10 a.m. We will still have some snow on the west end that continues through tomorrow evening. And amounts will likely end up higher than that going into tomorrow evening, as well as the residual snow wraps on. So you can see it expands, where we could have an excess of about a foot of snow within portions of Gogebic, Ontonagon, Baraga, Western, Northern, Western Iron counties. I just expanded this all the way through about 8:30 for tomorrow evening. So you have a little bit of an idea of where we'll pick up additional snowfall. But if we put this back here to tomorrow morning, when you're first getting up, 6 a.m., 7 a.m., about, just near a foot of snow or thereabouts in the interior west. Okay? So there we go. 8:30 tomorrow evening. As far as what we've seen so far, I've already mentioned it. We've seen rain, freezing rain, mixing in some pockets of sleet, wet snow, all of that. Observed precipitation over a quarter of an inch. This is radar indicated. I think it hasn't completely updated just yet. I'm going to open it up here. I'm going to change a couple of contours here because I want to look at ice. I'm going to disengage this so you don't have to see that. So it correlates to the ice accumulation here in the last 6 hours or thereabouts. Oh, let's see here. Ice accumulation. Last 12 hours. This is where we've seen the bulk of the ice in the last 12 hours. So this mainly fell in the last 6 to about 8 hours in the central UP. Okay, so this is kind of ranging about 1/10 of an inch to maybe around 1/4 of an inch in portions of Dickinson, Menominee, mainly Delta, Marquette, Alger counties. This is, of course, radar indicated. But yeah, so this is where we've seen that freezing rain and where we've probably had some more problematic issues this morning. Now, I encourage you to, I'm going to exit out of this, hop on here for a second, show you the 7-day. So you can see that the pattern's more wintry going into the weekend and next week. We encourage you to send your storm reports to us. We need storm reports to know exactly what happened, where things, fell, and for data, analytics purposes and record keeping, we like to know, your storm reports. How much rain fell? How much ice fell? Let's get some accumulations of that, as well as snowfall. And you can share that with us on uppermichigansource.com. All you got to do is go to our website. Under the weather tab, there's a storm reports tab. So please fill out the easy form for us. At the bottom of that form, there's also a link to the National Weather Service office, because it's also very important for them to know, the amount of precipitation we ended up with, especially in those areas where we ended up seeing freezing rain. So please also click that link and go to their website and fill out their storm reports as well, or contact the National Weather Service office, right? We really need to actually get some, how do I put this, some storm reports in from this system. And once the snowfall is all over and done with tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon, make sure to also share the total snowfall for the event with us as well. So yeah, those are all of the updates. That's everything that's going on with this system. Please be careful out there. It's not great. I, for one, am super excited to get back to a colder pattern because, yeah, freezing rain, sleet, that whole thing is just not really fun to be dealing with or driving with, or even just, walking through the sidewalk. Yeah. Let us know what's going on in your area. What are your storm reports? How much snow? How much freezing rain? Below. Submit, your reports on uppermichigansource.com. And yeah, I hope you guys have a really great weekend after this mess is over and done with. Just to make sure we touch this base, but we still have those winter weather advisories and winter storm warnings right now. They're continuing through 7 p.m. So just a little quick reminder of that. I know I didn't show that earlier, so there it is. 7 p.m. There might be some that get dropped off early, some that might get extended through tomorrow morning. So that's kind of a wait and see game, and the National Weather Service's call on that. Okay. Well, that does it. I hope you guys have a really great day. One more final look at the radar imagery here. Other than that, hopefully you have really good plans this weekend. I hope something's going good for you this weekend. Hopefully you have plans to get outside after this moves on out. I know I'm going snowshoeing tomorrow, so yeah. All right. Well, please be careful out there, and I hope you guys have a really great weekend. See ya.